Hello everyone, I'm Axino Explainer and welcome to my channel. We see at the beginning of the story, some people were making bad comments about her. They said I did hear about her, but she's even worse than the rumors. Sigh. I really don't know where I should place my eyes. All of them were saying these things about our main protagonist. After that, we see the main heroine standing in front of a man, and she was watching the man attentively. Then the man started thinking in fear why she was looking at me like that. Suddenly, our main heroine slaps the guy hard on the cheek. After the slap, the man's wig flew off and landed at a girl's feet. Then the man held his head and said, "How could she commit such a senseless act?" Lady Deborah, "What's with this sudden action?" Lady Deborah said, "My hand slipped." After seeing this incident, the people around are surprised, and they said, "Just why are you doing such an outrageous act, Lady Deborah?" Lady Deborah said, "Your grease-covered face is making my hand slip. Does he think I'm stupid? Make sure to wash your face well." People were saying, "You're a piece of trash who not only cheated with a servant, but who also broke his pregnant wife's legs by pushing her down the stairs." Lady Deborah says, "Talk all you want. What could any of you do anyway? I'm the daughter of Duke Seymour. I can do anything I want with my authority." After that, we see musicians playing music and people dancing to that tune, and Lady Deborah watched from afar. One watches Lady Deborah angrily from afar and calls her name. The girl's name is Viscountess Leflies, and she angrily calls out to Lady Deborah, "I have something to say." And she says to himself, "I should warn her in moderation. I cannot let this go any further." And Lady Deborah says, "Do speak." And Lady Deborah looked at her very attractively. Viscountess Leflies. Seeing Lady Deborah looking at her like that, she said in fear, "Lady Deborah, please be careful to not overdrink. I was just worried about your health. I hope Lady Deborah understands where I'm coming from." Lady Deborah listens to her and looks at her silently, and she says to herself, "What was that? I got really nervous because she suddenly talked to me. I got scared for no reason. I'm timid." Deborah's inner thoughts when she threw the handkerchief. And they were saying it's okay. There's no need to feel sorry. He deserves it. And others said, "Clean your face. Let's not cower. I'm not going to be kind and pitiful as I was in the past." And Lady Deborah kept saying to herself, "I'm going to continue reaping the benefits as a villainess and live in comfort. I can't let the fact that I a pushover." After that, the scene changes, and we see a girl looking at something on a mobile and talking with difficulty. The girl was talking on the phone, and he was thinking to herself, "But how do his relatives pass away every week?" And the girl says, "By the way, it's been ages since I asked, but no one's replied. Guess I'll have to go to the library again." After that, we saw a house at night and saw the girl walking alone and saying, "I'm so hungry, should I at least get a rice ball?" The girl was talking on the phone, "Don't step on it, it's brand new. Isn't this a limited edition rare item?" The girl sees two boys talking to each other and they say, "I got it at a premium price. It was so hard, I thought I was going to die." One of them says, "The boy, how did a beggar like you get money?" And the other boy says, "I found a pushover. Are you jealous?" Yeah, I know her. This girl's name is Yoon Do-hee, and they have been talking about this girl for so long. The girl was secretly listening to them, and she said to herself with pain, "A pushover? Was I such a pushover that people know my name for it?" And the two boys talk about her. "I heard that it's so nice to get in a group, but she even gives you money. She sends me money right away if I whine about a relative passing away, every week at that. Wow, what is she, an ATM? I know, right?" Yoon Do-hee listens to them all from hiding, and the two boys talk more about her at this point. "Isn't she a professional pushover?" Hearing this, she was crying, thinking about the past that happened to her. It's nothing. Thinking of this, she was running along the road crying. Then Do-hee calls her mother, and her mother says, "Do-hee, when are you coming home?" Do-hee says, "Why?" And her mother says, "Get here quickly and do the dishes. Also, give Do-jun some food." Do-hee says, "Can he make food on his own?" And her mother says, "What are you talking about? Can't you make some food for your one and only younger brother?" After that, Do-hee shouted to her mother and she says, "Does he have no arms and legs? Why do I need to take care of my fully grown-up younger brother at this age?" She cut the call and starts crying, looking at the phone. And she kept saying to herself as she cried, "I should have known earlier that they meant it's so convenient for me since Do-hee is a pushover. Why was I such an idiot?" She was standing on the road thinking these things when suddenly a car came and hit her. Do-hee says, "I don't know why I realized something so important. Right before my death." And the scene changes and we see Lady Deborah speaking like that, "I died a meaningless death. Until now we were watching the story of her previous life, and she reincarnated this world. The narrator then tells us a transmigration into the R-rated reverse harem tragedy novel, To Devour a Blackthorn, as the villainous Deborah Seymour. After that, we see Deborah lying in bed and she opens her eyes and says, "Where am I? I swear I got hit by a motorcycle. How am I fine? Mirror, I need to look in a mirror." When she sees herself in the mirror, she looks surprised. She says, "Oh my, I'm pretty." She pecks her cheek and says, "That's not right. Why am I not waking up? Isn't this just a fever dream?" Deborah suddenly looks back to see that the food is gone from her maid's hand and that her maid is looking at her very surprised. And her maid immediately bowed her head and said, "I'm sorry, I deserve to die. I saw nothing." Deborah says, "Well, what? What's up with her?" And her maid says, "Please have mercy, Lady Deborah." When she hears her maid calling her Deborah, she starts thinking in surprise. Deborah says, "Ah, I remember. It's the name of the villainess in the novel I used my coins on." Then we see what everyone is saying about Deborah. She was a hardcore villainess the author made to make the female lead suffer. The top comments were always hating on Deborah. Then Deborah thought to herself and said, "Come to think of it, I look the same as in the book description." Then Deborah looked forward and surprised, and the person in front said to her, "No way. What have you done this time?" And the man's name is Gorgius Seymour, and he is Deborah's father. And the narrator tells us more about who he is. He's one of the top 5 genius archmages, even among the Seymour household, with its extensive history. A character with a temperament as cold as his expressions. Marion Seymour, the only persons who he opened up to, passed away as she gave birth to Enric, the youngest child. And he became colder than ever before. Father says the important thing is pathetic girl. Was a hunger strike not enough for you? Now it's self-harm. You are an embarrassment to the Seymour name. You keep doing foolish things, with a face that resembles Marion. Then Deborah thought to herself, what's so special about that jewel? Oh yeah, that's right. The only one in the Empire. The pink diamond. Looks like I caused a ruckus for it and started a hunger strike. No wonder I'm so hungry. Then her father says there's a line that even you shouldn't cross as a daughter. This is your final warning. Stop causing trouble, you're on probation. Then Deborah said to herself in surprise, how can a dad be that brutal? Then Deborah's maid says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's my fault, please forgive me. Then Deborah said to herself in surprise, I don't want to be reminded that I'm in a tragedy novel with no human rights like this. All right, get out. And her maid says that, thank you. Thank you. Then Deborah stood there in surprise. Deborah says I died due to being a pushover my whole life, and I'm not the main character, nor the main character's best friend. But a villainess of all people. Why her? Why did it have to be her? After a while, her maid said, the water is ready, miss. Then Deborah said to herself, maybe this isn't that bad. Then the narrator comes and tells us day 10 of possessing Deborah, living with the worst reputation and being the villainess with all of the bad traits. After that, we see her maid bring so much food in front of her that Deborah looks at the food in surprise. Deborah says with food in her mouth, this is good. Deborah is surprised to see so many new dishes. Deborah then looked at her maids and said to herself, dang. Take a look at that discipline. How horribly were they treated become like this? Well, I guess it doesn't matter since I'm not bothered, right? Maybe it's even a good thing. Then her maid asked her, are you finished, miss? Then Deborah says, no, get out, it's overwhelming to be watched eating. Then her maid says, yes, miss. Then Deborah says to herself, it's better to be a nuisance of a villainess than to be looked down on. It's nice that they all avoid me when I do whatever Deborah's body remembers. This is the first time in my 24 years of life that I'm living so luxuriously. And she says more, I can't believe mornings are this peaceful and relaxed. Who knew my troublesome life would have such extravagance? If this is probation, then I want to be on it forever. Scene changes and we see a girl coming and saying, it's a great honor to meet you here, Lady Deborah. Then the girl said, I am Helen, a designer and the second daughter of Baron Jihode. Deborah listens to her and says to herself, even if I can't go out because I'm grounded, it doesn't matter since I can just call an apparel designer. Deborah says to herself, this isn't just a golden spoon in my mouth, it's a diamond one. They feed me, wash me, dress me, and I don't move an inch. Then Helen says, then excuse me for a minute. Then Deborah saw her maid bringing many dresses for her. Deborah was surprised to see such an expensive dress, and she says, why all these ultra-luxurious dresses? My room. Turned into a department store VIP room? That's all for today. If you like my explanation, then subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see the second part of it, please comment.